you meet your current wife,
Correct. I'm
soon
still
thereafter. And in fact, I think you were still divorced. So she's watching this. She's witnessing you going through this,
oh, yeah, she's witnessed me going through this process.
and she hung in there with you. Did she think you were a jerk?
She thought I was a jerk, but she hung in there with me. She always had my back. She's
That's
always
awesome. That is very important too in a relationship, having the other person's back, foxhole mentality. To me, that makes you feel safe and secure.
yeah, yeah. She took the higher road. She showed me how to take the higher road. She did that. I did the same back with her. And we wound up getting back together 6 months later because we acted like adults. And
Wait
we
a
talked.
second. We haven't gotten there yet. We're taking you down the
Yeah,
chronological path. So you're married, then you marry Michelle,
right.
7 years.
Yeah.
And now are you still that jerk?
Yes.
Okay. So you're still the jerk and she still has your back. Good for her.
Yep.
I've met her.
Still
She's
has my back.
lovely. She's a lovely woman. Yeah, let the big dog hunt. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Divorce and Conquer. I'm your host, Joe Staszak. My man right there joining us today, someone who's been very, very important and integral in my life, turning it around, turning my program around when I was pretty much at my low point. Somewhat recently, he's my spiritual advisor, a very good friend of mine. And the program, he is Chip Farley. How are you, Chip?
Very well. Very well. Thank you. Thank
Good to
you.
see you, man. Good to see you. You know, I was telling you earlier today, and I on a previous episode, I talked about Spirited, that movie I liked, the musical, Will Ferrell
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and Ryan Reynolds, and that they use a word called unredeemable. In fact, it's a song,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I don't even know if it's a real world word, but Scrooge, who's Will Ferrell in the previous life, his name is something Robert Pratt, something or other in the movie when he's a spirit. But Ryan Reynolds figures out that he's Scrooge from the Dickens movie, and to get to retire and go back to Earth, he'd have to be immortal again. He's not confident enough that he can be redeemed. He was such a bad dude as Scrooge. Because when they go back, Ryan Reynolds turns it around and they show his past, Scrooge's past. He doesn't like what he sees, um, and Will Ferrell was calling Ryan Reynolds an unredeemable, and they're both kind of are they unredeemable? You tell me that everyone's redeemable. I agree with that. We know the big guy will redeem everyone. You have assured me that, and he has too. But you were going down a bad path for a while. I want to talk about your
Oh, yeah.
plight to get to where you got to, and then how you kind of pervade the things that you learned onto me. That's why I'm trying to do it to other folks who listen to and watch the program now. So you've been divorced 3 times. The first one, though, was real
Mhm.
quick, easy peasy. It was kind of
Right.
almost nullified, kind
That's
of.
right.
But so we get to the second divorce with the mother of your children, and I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, I went into that divorce. We're trained as guys. When we play the game, get the puck, get the ball, grab the bull by the horns and take it across the goal line.
Competitive.
Yeah, we're taught to be competitive. So we go into a situation where we're being aggressive and using force. And that doesn't work in this type of situation. It does in sports because we're competing against another man. But it doesn't work in your relationship. Your relationships are not the same as games. You know, when a game you're competing with another guy, you can use force, strength, power, who's the fastest,
Impose
strongest.
your will.
Right. Impose your will. Right. But when you're dealing with your wife or your spouse, the way that you show that you're strong is by weakness and humility. By meekness and humility, that's how women recognize your strength, by you being able to control your strength. That's how you show power. Their
That's
women already know that we're,
fantastic. I hope you guys are writing this stuff down out there.
yeah,
Meekness, humility equals strength, and certainly
yes,
the eyes of the female. So go ahead.
yeah.
What mistakes did you make in the first divorce?
I went into the first divorce, trying to set out that I was going to grab every nickel that I possibly could. I wasn't going to get, screwed over for anything. I was going to make sure that I got what was coming. And in the process, what I did was I said, I'm going to be a jerk about this. And I proved to everybody, I proved to my attorney, I proved to her attorney, and I proved to my ex-wife that I was a jerk. And
Did you have to think about and consciously prove that you were a jerk, or were you a jerk before your transformation?
I was a jerk before my transformation. Yeah. I was trying to change other people and control other people until I came to finally a realization there's only one person I can control. There's only one person I can improve upon, it's myself.
Yourself.
I can't control or do anything, make anybody else change other than myself. And if I change, then others around me will see it and they will change. That,
Yes. It's funny.
that's
It's
how we take.
counterintuitive to what we kind of in our minds. We're like, wait a second, if I can just do
Right,
this,
right.
this person could do this, I'd be happy and blah, blah, blah. You can't do it. You can't do it. No one wants to be
Right,
controlled or wants to have that will of change imposed on them. They'll probably get defensive about it, but the way to do it, like you said, is kind of work on yourself.
right, right.
Fantastic. So the divorce, I'd say, went poorly.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so
I proved, I proved to my kids, my ex-wife, and both attorneys that I was a jerk. Oh, and probably my in-laws and my parents.
okay, all right. Well, okay, there's still plenty of time left for you. It was only like second
Right,
quarter. So you meet your current wife
correct. I'm
soon
still,
thereafter, and in fact, I think you were still divorced. So she's watching this. She's witnessing you going through this,
oh yeah, she's witnessed me going through this process.
and she hung in there with you. Did she think you were a jerk?
She thought I was a jerk, but she hung in there with me. She always had my back. She's
That's
always,
awesome. That is very important too in a relationship. Having the other person's back, foxhole mentality. To me, that makes you feel safe and secure.
yeah, yeah. She took the higher road. She showed me how to take the higher road. She did that. I did the same back with her. And we wound up getting back together 6 months later because we acted like adults. And
Wait
we
a
talked.
second. We haven't gotten there yet. We're taking you down the
Yeah,
chronological path. So you're married, then you marry Michelle,
right.
7 years.
Yeah.
And now are you still that jerk?
Yes.
Okay. So you're still the jerk and she still has your back. Good for her.
Yep.
I've met her.
So
She's
that's my back.
lovely. She's a lovely woman. And
Incredible.
incredible.
Yeah.
So then something happens, and now, oh, here we go again. And take me through what happened to lead to the most recent divorce, although it was years ago.
Right. I had met up with an old friend that brought me back to God and got me reading the Bible and taking.
But you were divorcing first. Were you already divorced?
Oh yeah, I
Michelle
was
for the third.
worse. Basically went off the grid. I got an apartment. I didn't have any cable. All I had was electric and water. No cable, no internet. Yeah, nothing. Just me and no television. Just me and sitting in there thinking about, what's going on.
What's going on, or what led me to where I am today? Like in that empty room, empty apartment.
in that empty room, an apartment. I started bringing myself closer to God.
You did, but like before your friend came to you, or like how is it?
Now,
You're this person. Okay, for
well,
our
yeah,
purposes, you're
but
Scrooge.
this
You're
was,
Ebenezer
yeah,
Scrooge.
it's a friend that I'd gone to church with in the early '90s, and we talked again, and
You reached out to him.
where she, her, yeah,
Her.
she, yeah, reached out to her, and she's like, "How come you're not going to church? You need to get yourself back into church." I was like, all right, all right. So that's what started the process. And there's always somebody there that will help you to get you started on the process.
Do you feel, because you've told me before, I was chosen, the mess I got into,
Right,
and I reached a divorce and kind
right,
of hitting bottom. You said you were chosen.
right.
I'm asking, were you chosen? Did you feel chosen?
I felt chosen. Yeah. My wife will tell me, will tell you, and will tell anybody that what what she watched and experienced was God changing.
When did you feel the pull? Because sometimes people are resistant to that, or maybe I don't know what your belief system
Right,
was
right.
beforehand, but
But
you said yourself you're a jerk. Are you realizing or starting to ruminate or think like, hey, something's not working for me? And is that when it opened the door, or was it the other way around?
I started isolating everybody around me because I was gaslighting them. I was,
Isolating or alienating?
alienating. Yeah. Yeah. I was alienating, everybody around me.
So you needed help. You felt like you needed help,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and your friend and God happened to be there.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen people want to accept God and want to do that because they have nowhere else, feel like they have no other recourse. but they don't necessarily stick with it or catch on. Did you feel it? What did you feel? And how long did it take to, hey, I'm on board with this program?
The one thing I learned in the process is that every single person has a rescue story and will have a rescue story. Um, it, if you're looking to improve yourself, this is, already I've heard the first few episodes, it's a great episode of
Thank you.
how to, take a look at where you really are. Take a look at it from a completely different perspective, which is something that you really need to do heading into divorce. Because if you go into there like a bull, it's not going to turn out well.
Yeah, my second one was a lot different than the first one. The first one was an absolute disaster. Second one was pretty quick, but there's
Right.
certainly the healing still needs to happen. And
Of course.
you've helped me a lot. And you with your suggestions, I'll let you tell people what you did for me. I mean, well, I can start. I mean, we send each other passages each day from different
Right.
plans,
Right.
from Bible plans, and reading the Bible, which I've tried to in the past. But for people out there who've tried, I get a little frustrated, and sometimes the
Mhm.
words are too small. I can't see anymore, and I'm like, yeah, I don't quite get that. So I'll just, get you something else. What do you
And
tell people like that?
it took me 3 years before I could remember to read one verse a day every day.
Right?
So, so
Is that right? 3 years. Wow.
it took me 3 years. Yeah, you picked up so much faster than I did. It took me 3 years before I could remember just to read one single verse every day. That's it.
And now you recite chapter and verse. You'll
Oh,
spit
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
out to
yeah.
me. I
Yeah.
have friends that do that. How do you, I mean, I can memorize just some movie
Uh,
lines or the West Wing. How do you do that? There's so many, the book of Job and Genesis and
yeah.
the Psalms, Proverbs. I mean, you guys are boom, 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 boom.
Oh, there's so many Bible in a year, different types of apps and programs and websites and booklets that you can use. Yeah, there's a wealth of information. The best way to do it is Bible in a year. It takes you about 12 to 15 minutes a day. That's it.
I've done that, and
Mhm.
or at least I've started to. I'm on my way, and I appreciate all the help with Chip Farley.
Yeah.
He is a good friend of mine and spiritual advisor. Got me on the right path. I think I'm headed in the right direction. Chip, what other suggestions would you have for some folks out there who are looking for some help and maybe don't know where to find it, and they've tried things on their own? We talk about doing, trying to figure out stuff ourselves, and at some point you just have to give it up, give off the wheel.
If your blood pressure is up, if your pulse is elevated, just remember one thing, that you need to not respond. When your blood pressure is elevated, you have testosterone pumping through your system. And it's not a good time. You need to get yourself calm, make sure you're in a good place. And if you can't find a good place, if you're still trying to deal with the anger, you need to find a channel for the anger that's not making yourself look like a jerk, not making things difficult for your kids. Because if kids are involved in the divorce, you have to remember that that's the priority. You're not a husband and wife to them, you're parents. And the divorce is about separating husband and wife, not about separating parenting. You're still parents.
And about giving it up, because I felt at one point I just had to capitulate. I'm saying, you know what? I keep crashing into these walls here or the median. Go ahead. I'll let someone else drive. And since then, it's been a much better road. I told you about the Randall Cunningham story. I don't think I've told the viewers. I will tell you at some point. Randall kind of baptized me over the phone on a chance encounter that it looked chance to me, but you think that, or I'm sorry, you believe everything has been kind of preordained and the book has already been written, and these things we just kind of play out the scenes.
The only thing we get to do is react to what happens. Yes. Yeah.
Now that's not etched in stone. So how we react is part of the free will thing, right?
Well, sure.
But can
Sure.
we change the course by reacting certain ways, or is the course
Yeah.
already all right? We know he's going to act like a jerk.
Permiss- so, right.
What's that?
There- there's free will and permissible free will. God can use it all.
But does it change the what's already written, or does he know also what you're going to
Now
do?
he already knows that you're going to do
Okay.
that.
Hell, what are we doing then? We have to think a lot. All right. So,
You wonder what we do with the 80% of our brain that we don't use? Yeah.
right. Copy
Program them
that,
from
right?
God. Yeah.
All right, let me get it back to your story. So, you're back with Michelle, and when you
Right.
because last we talked about you were getting divorced, and you were
Right.
in an empty room with only a running water and cable or apartment. How did you get that back on track? Because you told me in 6 months you were back together, remarried, divorced, and married. How's that
And
possible? Support systems around here don't do anything in 6 months.
I started working on myself and started becoming the person that she knew that I could become.
How did she know
That's
that
what,
if you were a jerk for 7 years?
yeah, that's what she stuck with me because she always saw in me that I had the potential to become better.
Interesting. And how,
And
how
she
did
never gave up on that.
and so how long did it take for you to go back to her and say, listen, I mean, did you have to convince her and say, hey, listen, I think I'm on the right path here? Was she religious? Like, how did it all work in 6 months? You got her to turn around and get remarried.
She has always been religious. I had not. So she's always been somebody.
You had no spiritual, I don't want to say background, but proclivity before this?
No, no. In fact, there was a little period there where I had investigated to see if Buddhism worked.
I like Buddhists. I gotta tell you, they're pretty chill people. Takes a
Exactly.
while. It's a lot of discipline. And would you say reps? Because a lot of this, and I'm gonna get to something in a second that I feel that I had a head start and now I'm getting there, but is it reps, discipline? What gets you there?
It is believing what you believe is wrong. That's the hardest thing to do is believing what you believe is wrong.
Can you expound on that?
It when our pulse is up, our first instinct is to strike. We should not,
Yes.
or we should keep our mouths closed. We should show that we can keep our strength under control. That's how we show power. When you keep your strength and you don't react and you don't act and you take things and you say, okay, my pulse is elevated right now. I'm going to step aside, step outside for a minute, wait till my pulse drops back down, and then talk. Never speak to anybody with an elevated pulse. It won't come out well.
Why is that? I always say because, when you act on emotion, you're using a different part of your brain. It never really works out properly because you're not thinking clearly, but then you calm down and what happens? Just in the brain, you start to you get some clairvoyance,
Adrenaline scrambles our brain. We're not,
adrenaline.
yeah, we're not able to think clearly with adrenaline.
Because I'm a junkie. I've always been with good adrenaline, bad adrenaline. Just hit me. So then I started. So now I'm learning on the fly here. So that might be part of the problem.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
good to know. Good to know.
okay.
Um,
one, one thing to always keep in mind, judge slowly, love quickly.
judge slowly, love quickly. Speaking of love, I did a whole
Mhm.
episode. I taped it today. It'll probably air in 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. Called "Be Unoffendable." I love that program.
Oh, love
The
that.
program. Aaron Berg, you sent me the Radiant pastor, right? From the Radiant.
Yes.
What
Radiant
is
Church.
okay?
Radiant Church in Tampa.
What is the Radiant Church? What is that?
Yeah, it is he started a church back in 2013. It is incredible. He's got like 8 different locations already. It's growing so quickly. It's during COVID, Michelle and I, you couldn't go to church. So, a friend of ours went to this Radiant Church. He's like, you gotta watch it, you gotta watch it. All right, fine, I'll watch. It was fantastic. Then I started watching, Michelle started watching with me. And one of the things he covered in there was to become unoffendable.
Great.
And that's
That's
so
the
very
key to me.
briefly,
To me, that's the
right.
key.
That's the key to happiness. Like,
Yes.
and he used a funny example. He's like, when Billy Graham passed away, I wrote this really nice thing on Facebook, and somebody wrote on there, Billy Graham is a jerk. He's like, so I had to go. Okay, I have to become unoffendable, even though I'm incredibly offended by that. Oh, he's not talking about Reverend Billy Graham. He's talking about Billy Graham that he went to school with. Oh, he's
That's
just talking something different.
he said
That
one of his elements was be creative,
final,
and that was
right,
part of it.
right. You got to look for excuses not to be offended. You got to look for the
Almost
other.
picking yourself. That's awesome. It's tough. Now, how does one yeah,
It's really
I
tough.
what's that?
Some days it's harder than others.
It's harder than others. I had a day the other day where all right, that's I
And
gotta let
usually,
this person have it, and I
yeah,
gotta do this over here. And I think I'll just spar with this one a little bit and fire
yeah,
some sorties her way. But like, okay, that's the old
yeah,
me. And yes, it was a little
yeah,
entertaining, but I'm
yeah,
like, I gotta stop that. How do you How do you stay the course and how do you get to that part? 'Cause it's funny. I got to be honest. You know how, like in the market, and you're a financial advisor, you don't really know the bottom until you're off of it. Then you look back and say, oh, that was the bottom. It's
Yeah.
kind of like the progress I've made. Like, I don't know where I am until a month or two later. I look back and say, wow, really? That was only 2 months ago. I would never, blah, 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 blah. Or I'd
Yeah.
frown on something like that. So that's how I can see it. But how do you kind of how do you be consistent with this?
I have other people that are my accountability partners. So
Accountability. Mhm.
yeah. So I have you that I, exchange messages with. I have a friend in Wisconsin I exchange messages with every day. A friend in Montana I exchange messages with every day. So it's accountability, and right now there's four of us that are reading the whole Bible together at the same time,
Together or separately together?
together right on the YouVersion Bible app.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay. And what do you get out of that?
I find that I have my perspectives have changed. Um, I don't see the world the way that I used to. I see the world differently. Um, yeah, it's I don't know what else to say.
No, that's okay because
But
I talked about perspective today, watching
yeah,
the different things that lend different perspective. I was watching the Bills Bengals game Monday night, and we know what
yeah,
happened to that young man. He's doing a
yeah,
lot
yeah,
better, by the way. By the time this airs, I hope. I mean, he FaceTimed his team today. Thank God. Once that happened, I'm like, it's football. It's like, really, like there's so much more. And when it's a shame, it has to sometimes happen when tragedies occur. But you're like, whoa, there's more than this game or this event we're going to. Like, there's a big picture here, and so perspective has changed by reading the Bible. That's
yeah,
phenomenal because this program is about emotional wellness, physical wellness, and getting yourself in good shape, and mindfulness, and preserving finances with applicable ways through the divorce. But I want to do big picture because if you get through a divorce, but you haven't changed anything really, you're bringing the same stuff you brought in the last marriage into the next one. So you got to get to
yes,
the core roots. That's what I'm trying to do here is get to the
right,
bottom of
right,
things
right,
so you can maybe be a healthier partner next time and not have to deal with what you just dealt with.
right. The only baggage you can unpack is yours. Yes,
It's yours. That's it. That's a good tip. And you and Michelle, good? All good now?
wonderful,
How many
wonderful.
years has it been since you got back together?
8 years.
Fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, buddy, I
Every,
appreciate it. Again, Chip
everything is
Farley. He's my spiritual advisor, good friend,
like,
and okay, by the way, brother-in-law. But he's been phenomenal to me. And you know what? I look forward to every morning seeing the message you send and going back and forth. I know I have a lot of questions. Well, wait a second. What is? Because I am still learning, but you always have good answers for me too. Very positive answers too. Very positive. How
yeah,
important is that? Just to be, it seems like just being positive all the time is so much.
exactly.
You ever hang around a negative person? They just keep
No
complaining
matter
about
how
stuff.
no matter how hard you try, we're gonna mess up. Don't beat yourself up about it. Just
Yeah.
keep going. Doesn't matter how hard you try, practice this for 20 years, I'll still mess up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's some setbacks. You go off the rails, you gotta get back on. You gotta get back
Right.
on quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't let it define you.
Good stuff, my man. Appreciate it, pal. That's Chip Farley, and folks,
Thank you, Joe.
we appreciate you watching another episode of Divorce and Conquer. Remember to check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, also on YouTube, and share it with everyone you know. And hopefully you give us a 5-star rating. You can also contact me personally for coaching sessions. Joe Staszak, my personal Facebook page, Instagram, Joe Staszak 4799, Twitter, Joe Staszak 4799, and also have a Divorce and Conquer website page and a Facebook page. Appreciate it, Chip. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Joe.